When 10-year-old Kai Musk's handmade rocket model is deliberately broken by bullies during show and tell, it's just another painful day in a long series of torments. The son of the world's most famous rocket builder can't escape the taunts of Rocket Boy and Alien that follow him through the halls of Westlake Academy. But when his personal journal filled with Mars colony designs gets destroyed in a cruel prank, something Finn finally breaks inside him. After months of suffering in silence, Kai confesses everything to his father. What happens next will transform not just Kai's school, but schools across the country. Because Elon Musk doesn't just comfort his son, he launches a technological solution that will change how we think about bullying forever, and the most stunning part, the world-changing innovation was hiding in plain sight, all alone long in the soggy pages of a bullied boy's ruined journal. Kai Musk clutched his homemade rocket as he walked into Mrs. Allen's fifth-grade classroom today was show and tell, and he had spent 3 whole weekends building this rocket with his dad. It wasn't just any model rocket. It had tiny solar panels, realistic thrusters, and even a miniature crew cabin with seats that folded down, remember? Keep your head up. His dad had told him that morning, "What you made is special. Don't let anyone tell you different." That was easy for his dad to say. Elon Musk was the most famous rocket builder in the world. No one ever laughed at him or called him names. Kai slid into his seat near the back of the classroom and carefully placed the rocket inside his desk. He had learned the hard way not to leave things out where other kids could grab them. "What's that, Rocket Boy?" Another space toy, Brady Thompson's voice, came from behind him. Brady was the tallest kid in 5th grade, with perfect hair and expensive sneakers that lit up when he walked. Kai didn't answer, he never did. It only made things worse. "Hey, I'm talking to you, alien boy." Brady poked him hard in the back. Mrs. Allen clapped her hands. "Good morning. Everyone take your seats. Please, we have a full schedule today, starting with show and tell Kai's stomach, twisted into knots. Had begged to go last, hoping some kids might leave early for band practice or something. No such luck, one by one. Kids went to the front of the room. Emma showed her soccer trophy. Tyler brought his pet turtle Zara, demonstrated a dance routine she made up. Then it was Kai's turn. "Kai, you're up next," Mrs. Allen said, with an encouraging smile. His legs felt like they were filled with cement as he walked to the front of the class. He held the rocket with both hands, trying to stop them from shaking. "This is a model of the Starship." Kai began, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's the rocket my dad company is building to take people to Mars. Someday speak up, Kai. We can't hear you." Mrs. Allen said. Kai cleared his throat. "This rocket will be the biggest ever built. I made this model with my dad. It took 3 weekends. Did your dad build it for you, or did you actually help?" asked Brady with a smirk. "I did most of it," Kai said, though that wasn't totally true. His dad had helped a lot, especially with the tiny solar panels, but Kai had designed the crew cabin himself and painted all the details. The cool thing about it is that the nose cone can open up. Kai continued, finding his voice. He carefully opened the top of the rocket to show the detailed interior inside. There's room for astronauts and supplies for the long journey to Mars. Few kids leaned forward in their seats for a moment. Kai felt a flutter of hope. Maybe they actually thought it was cool. "Does your dad know you took his stuff to school?" Brady called out. Several kids laughed. Kai's face burned. Brady, that's enough, Mrs. Allen said, but she was smiling a little. Too, like she thought it was kind of funny. Actually, my dad helped me build this for show, and tell Kai, said his voice getting stronger, longer. He says that Mars is going to need scientists and engineers, and doctors just like Earth. Does people who build things and fix problems, he saw. Zara nodding. Tyler was leaning in for a better look at the rocket. The first Mars colony will probably only have about 100 people. Kai continued feeling braver. They'll have to grow their own food and make oxygen from the Martian soil. It's going to be the biggest. Adventure in human history. Thank you, Kai. Mrs. Allen said that's very interesting. Who wants to go next? Kai carefully closed the nose cone and started back to his seat. He could feel eyes watching him, but for once they didn't seem mean. A few kids even looked impressed. Then his foot caught on something. The floor rushed up to meet him. The rocket flew from his hands and hit the ground with a sickening crack. Laughter exploded around him. Kai looked up to see Brady quickly pulling his foot back. Under his desk, the rocket lay in. Pieces the nose cone had snapped off. The tiny solar panels were scattered across the floor. The crew cabin he had worked so hard on was crushed. "Oh, Kai, be careful," Mrs. Allen said, rushing over class. "Settle down. It was just an accident." But it wasn't an accident. Kai knew it, and Brady knew it better. "Call your daddy to build you a new one," Brady whispered as Kai gathered the broken pieces. Kai didn't cry. Not there. He held it all inside as he picked up every single piece of his rocket and put them in his backpack. He sat through the rest of show and tell, through math and reading, time through lunch, where he sat alone as usual. It wasn't until he got home that afternoon that the tears came. How was school? Kai M. Patel, his nanny asked as he walked in the door. "Fine," he mumbled, heading straight for his room. "Don't you want a snack? I made those granola bars you like. I'm not hungry," in his room. Kai carefully took out the broken rocket pieces and laid them on his desk. Maybe he could fix it. Maybe his dad could help him fix it. But that would mean telling his dad what happened, and Kai couldn't bear the thought of his father's face when he heard about the broken rocket, about the names they called him, about how the teacher did nothing. His dad was the bravest person Kai knew. He built huge rockets and sent them to space. He wasn't afraid of anything. What would he think of a son who couldn't even handle 5th grade? Kai shoved the rocket pieces into his drawer and crawled into bed, not even bothering to change his clothes. Hours later, he heard the front door open. His dad was home early for once. He usually worked. Until way past Kai's bedtime, Kai pretended to be asleep when his bedroom door cracked open. "Kai, you awake, buddy?" His dad's voice was soft in the darkness. Kai kept his eyes closed, but he could feel his dad watching him. The edge of the bed sank a little as his dad sat down. A gentle hand brushed the hair from his forehead. M. Patel said, "You didn't eat dinner." His dad said quietly, "Tough day at school." Kai opened his eyes. Even in the dim light from the hallway, he could see his dad looked tired. He worked so hard all the time, the last thing he needed. Was Kai's stupid problems? "It's nothing." "Dad," Kai said, "just kid stuff." His dad studied his face. "Your eyes are red." Kai looked away. "I'm just tired." His dad was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You know, sometimes the kids who get picked on when they're young and up changing the world when they're older, is that—" "What happened to you?" Kai asked, before he could stop himself. "Something like that," his dad said with a small smile. "Want to talk about it?" Kai shook his head. It's really nothing. His dad looked like he wanted to say more, but instead, he just squeezed Kai's shoulder. Get some sleep, buddy. Tomorrow's another day after his dad left. Kai stared at the glow in the dark stars on his ceiling. Tomorrow would be another day, but he knew it wouldn't be better. And neither would the day after that, or the day after that, because at Westlake Academy, he would always be Rocket Boy, the weird kid with the famous dad. And nothing would ever change that. 3 weeks later, things at Westlake Academy weren't just bad, they were worse after the broken rocket in Incident Brady and his friends had invented a new game. They called it Alien. The rules were simple. Push Kai around at recess. Take his stuff and say they were doing tests to see if he was human or an alien robot his dad had built. He never cries. Kai overheard Brady telling Owen during lunch, "Real humans cry when you hurt them. He must be a robot. Maybe he's from Mars." Owen laughed. That's why he's so obsessed with it. Kai stabbed at his macaroni and cheese with his fork. He sat alone at the end of a long table as usual. Sometimes Zara would sit with him, but she was absent today without her there. The table felt enormous. "Hey, Martian," Brady's voice rang out across the cafeteria. "We need to run more tests." Kai looked up to see Brady and 3 other boys heading his way. He quickly stuffed the rest of his lunch into his mouth, grabbed his backpack, and stood up to leave. "Where are you going, Rocket Boy?" Brady cut him off before he could reach the exit. "The lab needs more alien samples. Leave me alone," Kai said, trying to get past them. The boys formed a circle around him. Brady reached out and grabbed Kai's backpack. "What if we got here secret alien technology?" Brady unzipped the backpack and started rummaging through it. "Give it back." Kai tried to grab his bag, but Owen pushed him away. "Look at this." Brady pulled out Kai's journal. It was dark blue with silver stars on the cover. Inside were Kai's drawings and notes about rockets, Mars, habitats, and spacesuits, ideas he'd been working on for months, plans for Martian colony. Brady read out loud in a mocking voice, "Guys, I think we found proof he really is planning an alien invasion." The other boys laughed. Kai felt his face burning. "That's private. Give it back." Kai tried to sound brave, but his voice shook. "If it's about invading Earth, the people have a right to know," Brady said, flipping through the pages. "Wow, you really are a freak who spends their time drawing rocket toilets. It's a waste recycling system for long-duration spaceflight," Kai muttered. This made the boys laugh harder. Brady tossed the journal to Owen, who pretended to read it with exaggerated interest. "Oh no, his alien poop is going to attack us," Owen cried. Kai lunged for the journal, but Owen threw it to Brady, who held it high above his head where Kai couldn't reach. "Jump, alien, jump." Brady taunted. A teacher walked by, and the boys immediately lowered their voices. Mrs. Rodriguez glanced at them, but kept walking. She had seen the boys clustered around Kai before, but they always claimed they were just talking. "Please, just give it back," Kai said quietly after the teacher was gone. "Fine, go get it." Brady smirked and threw the journal across the cafeteria. It skidded along the floor and landed in a puddle of spilled milk. The bell rang, signaling the end of lunch. The boys walked away laughing, leaving Kai to retrieve his soaked journal. The pages were wet, the ink running in blue rivers across his careful drawings. Months of work ruined in seconds. Kai was late to class, which earned him a frown from Mrs. Allen. His wet journal left a damp spot in his backpack for the rest of the day. When the final bell rang, Kai almost ran to the pickup area, desperate to escape. To his surprise, it wasn't M. Patel waiting in the car line, but his dad's. "Black Tesla, Dad," Kai said, as he slid into the passenger seat. "Hey, buddy," his dad said with a smile. "Thought I'd surprise you. The test flight got postponed, so I'm all yours for the afternoon." Kai tried to smile back, but his face wouldn't cooperate everything. "Okay," his dad asked, pulling away from the school. "Yeah," Kai said automatically, "just surprised to see you." His dad glanced at him, thought, "We could work on that new rocket design. You were telling me about the one with the expandable habitat section." Kai's stomach twisted. That design was in his journal. The journal that was now a soggy mess in his backpack. Maybe tomorrow. I'm kind of tired today." His dad looked disappointed but nodded. "Sure, how about ice cream? Instead, there's that new place by the park. Okay?" Kai agreed, relieved his dad wasn't pushing the rocket thing at the ice cream shop. Kai got his favorite chocolate with rainbow sprinkles. His dad got plain vanilla. Like always, they sat at a small table by the window. So his dad said, after a few minutes of silence, "How's school going? Learning anything interesting?" Kai shrugged. "Not." "Really? How about that science project you mentioned, the one about Mars colonization?" "It's fine," Kai mumbled, focusing on his ice cream. His dad put down his spoon. "Kai, is something going on at school that I should know about?" "No," Kai said quickly, too quickly. His dad's eyes narrowed slightly. You can tell me anything, right? If there's a problem, there's no problem." Kai interrupted. "School's just boring. That's all." His dad didn't look convinced, but he didn't push further. They finished their ice cream, mostly in silence. When they got home, Kai headed straight for his room, claiming he had homework. He shut the door and pulled out his wet journal. The pages were wrinkled and stiff, now the ink blurred beyond recognition. In many places, he tossed it in the trash can next to his desk. Then, for the first time since the rocket broke, Kai cried. Not just a few tears, but deep, shaking sobs that he muffled with his pillow so his dad wouldn't hear. He cried until his chest hurt and his eyes stung, until there weren't any tears left. When he finally sat up, he saw his dad standing in the doorway. Kai, his dad's voice was soft, worried. Kai wiped his face with his sleeve. "I didn't hear you knock. I did twice." His dad came in and sat on the bed beside him. He noticed the crumpled journal in the trash. "What happened to your notebook?" Kai tried to come up with a lie, but he was too tired, too empty. It got wet. His dad retrieved the journal from the trash and carefully opened it. The pages stuck together, the drawings barely visible through the stains. "How did it get wet?" his dad asked, his voice unnaturally calm. Kai stared at the floor. "Some kids at lunch they took. My backpack, they were playing. Keepa, away with it. The journal fell in a puddle. The same kids who broke your rocket." Kai nodded. His dad took a deep breath. "How long has this been going on? A while?" Kai admitted. "Since the beginning of the year." "I guess that's almost 3 months, Kai." "Why didn't you tell me?" Kai couldn't meet his dad's eyes. "I didn't want you to think I was weak." "Weak, Kai, look at me." His dad waited until Kai raised his head. "Being bullied doesn't make you weak. Not telling anyone about it doesn't make you strong. It just means you're suffering. Alone when you don't have to." Tears threatened again. But Kai held them back. "I tried telling Mrs. Allen once. She said kids will be kids, and I should try to fit in more." His dad's expression darkened. "That's it? he said, standing up. I'm calling the school. This ends now. No, Dad, Kai jumped up in panic. That'll just make everything worse. They'll call me a tattletale, and it'll get even worse. And then, what do you want me to do? His dad asked, his voice rising in frustration. I can't just let this continue. I want to be homeschooled, Kai blurted out, or go to a different school. Please just get me out of there. His dad ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Kai knew meant he was deeply upset. For a long time, he just stood there, looking at Kai with an expression that was part sadness, part anger. You know what? His dad finally said, I have a better idea for handling this situation. But I'll need your help. Kai didn't understand. What do you mean? I think there's a way to fix this, not just for you, but for every kid who gets bullied. How? Kai asked. I need to. Think about it more. Talk to some people, his dad said. But first, I need you to be brave for a little longer. Can you do that? Kai looked at his dad and slowly nodded. For the first time in weeks, he felt something other than dread about going to school. It wasn't exactly hope, not yet, but it was close. The next morning, Kai woke up to find his dad already awake and making breakfast. This was strange. His dad was never up this early, unless he had an important rocket launch. Good morning, his dad said, flipping pancakes. Hungry? Kai nodded, sliding onto a stool at the kitchen counter. Are those blueberry and chocolate chip? His dad confirmed. I wasn't sure which you'd want, so I made both. Kai watched his dad move around the kitchen. He was wearing a regular black t-shirt instead of his usual work clothes. Aren't you going to work today? Kai asked. Nope. I called in late. His dad placed a stack of pancakes in front of Kai. We have some important business to take care of. First, what business? His dad smiled. You'll see. Eat up. We leave in 20 minutes instead of turning towards school. His dad drove them to the SpaceX facility. Kai had been there many times before, but today felt different. They bypassed the main entrance and went through a side door that required his dad's thumbprint to open. They walked down a hallway to a room Kai had never seen before. The sign on the door read, Advanced Projects Lab inside. Engineers were working at computers and examining something on a central table. Everyone out for a few minutes, please, his dad announced. Except you, Pry. The engineers looked up in surprise, but quickly gathered their things and filed out. Only a woman with short black hair and bright blue glasses remained. Kai, this is Pra May. She's the lead engineer on our most advanced AI system, his dad explained. Hello, Kai, Pra said with a warm smile. Your dad talks about you all the time. Kai mumbled a shy hello, Pra. I need a favor, his dad said, and it's going to sound strange. Prisha raised an eyebrow but didn't speak. I need you to help us design a teaching assistant robot, one that can be deployed in elementary and middle schools. Pra looked surprised. A teaching robot? That's quite different from our usual projects. Not just any teaching robot. His dad continued. This one needs special capabilities. He glanced at Kai. It needs to be able to monitor and record incidents of bullying. Kai's eyes widened. Was this his dad's plan? Interesting. Shaw said, tapping her chin. We could adapt some of the visual recognition systems we've been working on for the Mars rover. They're designed to identify and categorize geological formations, but with some modifications, they could track human interactions and flag concerning patterns exactly. His dad nodded, and it would need to be friendly, non-threatening, something kids would accept in their environment. And teachers, too. Pra added they'd need to see it as helpful, not intrusive. They began discussing technical details that Kai didn't fully understand, something about facial recognition, behavior, pattern analysis, and secure data transmission protocols. How soon could we have a working prototype? His dad finally asked. Prisha thought for a moment. 2 weeks. For a basic version, longer. For a polished product, make it 1. His dad replied. Pra laughed. Why am I not surprised? I'll need to pull in some team members from other projects, whatever you need. This is top priority after they left the lab. Kai couldn't contain his questions any longer. Are you really building a robot for my school? Not just for your school, his dad answered. But yes, yours will be the first. He checked his watch. Speaking of which, we have one more stop to make this morning. Kai's stomach dropped when he realized where they were. We're still going to school now. Trust me. His dad said this is part of the plan. When they pulled into the school parking lot, classes had already started. Kai felt a knot of anxiety as they walked through the empty hallways. Kids and teachers stared through classrooms' windows as they passed. Even from a distance, Kai could see Brady's shocked face watching them go by. Principal Davis's secretary jumped when they entered the office. Mr. Musk, we weren't expecting you. I need to speak with Principal Davis, his dad said. Politely but firmly, it's important they were shown into the principal's office immediately. Principal Davis, a tall man with thinning hair and a bow tie, stood so quickly he knocked over his coffee mug. Mr. Musk, what an unexpected honor, he exclaimed, fumbling to clean up the spilled coffee while extending his hand to shake. I wish it were under better circumstances, his dad replied, coolly shaking the principal's hand briefly before sitting down. He motioned for Kai to sit next to him. Principal Davis's smile faltered. Is something wrong, my son? Has been bullied repeatedly at this school. His dad stated his property has been damaged, his personal journal destroyed, and he's been physically intimidated, and nothing has been done about it. Principal Davis looked shocked. This is the first I'm hearing about this because Kai was afraid to speak up, but now we're speaking up together. His dad's voice was calm but firm. Principal Davis looked at Kai, then back at his dad. I assure you, Mr. Musk, we have a zero-tolerance policy for bullying. If I had known, you should have known his dad. Interrupted? That's your job. The principal's face flushed. You're absolutely right. I'll launch an investigation immediately. The perpetrators will be disciplined appropriately. Kai tensed, imagining how much war things would get if Brady and his friends got in trouble because of him. But then his dad did something completely unexpected, actually. He said, leaning forward, I'd like to propose a different solution instead of punishment. I'd like to offer an opportunity for education. Principal Davis looked confused. I'm not sure I understand. I'd like to come to the school in 2 weeks to give a special presentation to the entire 5th grade. His dad explained about Mars space travel and the future. He turned to Kai with my son as my assistant presenter. Kai's eyes went wide. He had not expected this at all. You want to give a presentation, Principal Davis asked, sounding both confused and excited. Yes, one that will include some very special technology we're developing at SpaceX. His dad gave Kai a meaningful look. Technology that could change how schools deal with bullying. Forever, Principal Davis practically fell over himself, saying, yes, this is a tremendous opportunity for our students. Mr. Musk, we would be honored as they left the office. Kai whispered to his dad, "You want me to help present in front of everyone?" His dad nodded. "You're the expert on what kids need to feel safe at school. Who better to explain it?" Kai wasn't sure about that, but for the first time in months, he felt like maybe, just maybe, things could change. Phase 1. Complete, his dad whispered as they walked out of the school for the next 2 weeks. Kai's life changed completely every day after school. His dad would be waiting in the pickup line. They would drive straight to SpaceX, where Kai watched the robot, now called Tess, teaching enhancement support system, take shape. "What do you think?" Pra asked on the 4th day, showing Kai her design sketches. Scary or friendly? Kai studied the drawings. The first design looked too much like a box with eyes. The second was better rounded edges, a screen for a face that could show different expressions, and wheels too. "Move around the second one," Kai said, "but maybe make it a bit taller, like the height of a desk, so kids can talk to it eye to eye." Pra smiled, good thinking. The best part was working with his dad every night. They would eat dinner at home, then spread out in the living room to work on their presentation. "Mars will be the greatest adventure in human history," his dad said as they created their slides, "but it will also be the hardest." What do you think kids your age would find most interesting about it? Kai thought about it, probably the dangerous parts like dust storms and radiation, and how we'd survive there, what we'd eat, where we'd sleep, that kind of stuff. His dad nodded. "Then that's what we'll focus on." They worked on amazing slides, showing Mars habitats, space suits, and the journey to get there. His dad even included a whole section about the special toilets Kai had designed in his ruined journal. "You remembered those?" Kai asked. Surprised? "Of course I did." His dad replied, "It was a clever design. We've been working on something similar for the Starship at school." Things were.